the Date Library that has a long history and relationship of working with AMBruno, and also me personally. It's always been a pleasure and a privilege working with Sophie and with the artists of AMBruno. This is, as you know, an event called Finale, and I'm handing over now to Sophie to introduce the afternoon.
We launch 18 artist books, and we have collected the proposals into a booklet which may be of interest. The selection was made from proposals by Robert Bollig. Robert Bollig is a curator of books on books collections. He is knowledgeable, interested, and he collects artist books. Over to you, Robert.
When I consider an artist book for acquisition or for inclusion in an exhibit, I want it to make me read with my eyes, my hands, and my mind. Turning the page is not enough. It should demand that I handle, unfold, rotate, manipulate, feel it. Mentally deciphering the work's signs is not enough. I want it to make me think about how the shape, material, and making work together, about how artist books before this one may be present in it, about how other literary, visual, sculptural, architectural, performative, or even digital art may be present. So you can appreciate what a challenge it was to select works on the basis of a few anonymized sentences or paragraphs describing what artists plan to submit. Now add that the proposals ranged from simple pamphlet books to intricate concertina pop-ups and to a piano-hinged sculpture, from relief prints to photographic prints, from a Renaissance nude to a carnivalesque full Monty, from entirely text to entirely blank, and from celebration to lamentation and back. It was an honor to be tortured with the challenge of imagining what the artist intended. On seeing the final results with Sophie and John via Zoom, my imagination was much relieved and delighted. As you watch the artists present their works, and as you inspect these artist books, look hard and long. Touch them and think slowly. I am positive that you too will be delighted. And although among the entries there are mourners for the final AMBruno project, there are celebratory memorializers as well. In fact, as John and Sophie reviewed the arrivals alphabetically for me by Zoom, I was tickled that Chance ended our session with Roy Willingham's touch paper. How fitting that the finale of AMBruno's finale turns out to be a firework display that should prompt not only oohs and ahs, but also a round of applause for Sophie Loss and her friends for the 16 AMBruno projects over the past 14 years. So please.
Sunset.
Ting.
Sun.
Set.
Ing.
Suns. Attic.
Flow diagram begins. Error message. Duplication unavailable. Square flow diagram.
Square flow diagram.
Square flow diagram.
Round flow diagram.
Round flow diagram.
Round flow diagram.
Phasing out.
End or be terminated.
Error message. Duplication unavailable. Hiss. Boo.
Bravo!
Brava! More. Splat.
Splat.
Splat. Splat. Squash tomato.
Flying eggs.
Projectile carnations.
Clapping. Stamping.
Flying carnations. Termination.
We are gathered here to mark the passing of the renowned and celebrated proponent of artist books, AMBruno, to celebrate and launch their last collective book art project, Finale. Taking inspiration from the definition of finale as an ending with a flourish, I was reminded of famous last words and Roland Barthes' concept of the death of the author. My book explores the death of the author in both a literal and a metaphorical sense. The very last words of even the most eloquent authors are more often spent in calling for a bedpan or saying "ah" than anything more profound. So while I have included the few recorded last words that survive, it was the more significant fragments from their earlier works, those that grapple with death and dying, that prove far more compelling. I also include the causes of these writers' deaths, setting them against their own words to reflect back on their meditations on mortality. The lexicographer Samuel Johnson observed that a writer only begins a book, it is the reader who finishes it. Centuries later, in 1967, the French writer Roland Barthes published his short but influential essay, The Death of the Author. He proposed that the meaning of a text cannot be determined solely by the author's original intent. From the moment a work is shared, the writer is, in a sense, finished, dead, and the reader's interpretation becomes both vital and integral. In my earlier medical life, I witnessed much of death and much of new life. I end then by paraphrasing Roland Barthes to encapsulate my artist's book and my contribution to AMBruno's Finale. The death of the author is the price paid for the birth of the reader.
This latest book is called And Yet, and it's about how books and their contents have always, through history, been faced threats from powerful people because of the book's contents, their power in themselves to influence our imaginations, our memories, our knowledge, and how we feel. Books and libraries are, as you mentioned, once again under threat, and probably always will be. So this Finale book is shaped as a monument or a tombstone to reflect on episodes throughout history where books have brutally met their demise. And yet, the ideas in them endure, and the feathers of this book act as markers that are symbolic of this endurance. I've named the book And Yet after a poem written by Czesław Miłosz, and it's called And Yet the Books. And yet the books will be there on the shelves, separate beings, that appeared once still wet as shining chestnuts under a tree in autumn. Yet the books will be there on the shelves, well-born, derived from people, but also from radiance heights. Thank you.
As I watched the Ranger 9 in 1965 on its kamikaze landing to the moon.
Cosimo Medici had a favorite dwarf. His name was Nano Morgante. Cosimo commissioned Bronzino to paint Nano, which he did on two-sided work. On the front of the panel, Nano is embarking on a bird hunt. On the back, the finale, Nano is holding his catch. My book materializes an illogical space between the two pictures. This passage of time indicates the space in which Nano crumbles, crunches, breaks, cuts, squashes, treads, perforates, cracks, tears, pierces, tramples, kicks, stamps, as he makes his way through the wood and my book.
Well, I've been checking with them like you for a long time.
What you do is you
try to see the horizon. And the nice thing is that you can see it like in different. What do you usually
When I reach the end of a book, I always feel that I should have read it more slowly. And the book that I'm showing tonight is an attempt to visualize that experience and to counteract it. I have chosen to adapt the main storyline of La vie mode d'emploi by French writer Georges Perec. It will begin like this, right here on the staircase, a place where people pass, almost unaware of each other.
Third floor to the right, an elderly man is playing a game of patience. One of the cards face up on the black tablecloth is a mismatch.
And it will be something like a petrified memory, like an image fixed for all time, indelible.
A library on the fourth floor to the left. A restorer is examining the interior of a clockwork musical box that plays the sonatina in E minus.
The old painter is dead. He is lying on his bed. A large square canvas, more than 2 meters high, is standing beside the window. The canvas is blank.
But wait, there is more.
And I thought, well, wouldn't it be a little bit lighter if all of this chaos was actually playful gods who were just toying with us, as the ancients used to think. Sketchbook for the end times. We decided that we'd drive our car down to Italy, thinking how good of us not to fly and create pollution. Passing beneath the snow-capped peaks of the Alps,
we could reassure ourselves that these mountains were eternal. Since the ancient times, when Perseus turned Atlas into a mountain, these mountains would endure.
a tremendous fire broke out. And as the fields burned, we had to wait in a long queue. As I foretold you, all spirits are melted into air, into thin air, like the baseless fabric of this vision, and deeper that ever did plummet sound. I'll drown my book.
So for my book, I used a particular scene from one of those plays, Dangerous Corner. Thinking of Midsummer Night's Dream and the play within that play of Pyramus and Thisbe, one of the players, Tom Snout, was demoted from king to being a wall. And on this occasion, I'm Curtain. Thank you.
So this time to perform it, we all are gonna read it at the same time. And that way we can share with people that still don't have any page. There you go. Wonderful, you see? Beautiful. There you go.
Recover? No. Seen? Dead. Suddenly grass groweth, dried, withered. Displeasure, indignation. Years strong is sorrow. Gone thy fear, displeasure, that year's adversity, their glory. Of dead, our handiwork. It is not yet your time to flee as it were a shadow, so please now revive yourselves. Thank you.
The inspiration for the few words that I'm going to deliver comes largely from this photograph, which is a photograph taken by Tadeusz Kantor, where he conducts the sea. So my experience of working on projects with artists is similar to Tadeusz's experience of conducting the sea. For the past 15 years, I have been engulfed and immersed in an exquisite cornucopia of words, images, ideas, thoughts, allusions, tributes, memories, poems, reflections, created by artists whose works are as diverse as their personalities. So to use the natural analogy, I have been dealing with creatures, and some of them were beavers, some elephants, quite a few donkeys and lions, and magpies, chameleons, quite a few, turtles and hares, sloth and peacock, or two. So thank you for the pleasure your work gave me, especially when all the books come together. They make a magnificent whole, as you can see on the table here. And thank you for all the artists who trusted me with the books on this adventure. Thank you.